Well, welcome back to Theoretical Nonsense. Today we're going to be discussing Season 5, Episode 13, The Recombination Hypothesis. And on today's episode, we're talking cold-blooded lizards. Do smarter monkeys throw more feces? Moms being our first romantic attachment? Lasers and inhalers. Stay tuned. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
Make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Ahoy, Ryan.
Ahoy, Rob.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Fantastic, because we are talking the recombination hypothesis.
Oh, yeah.
How'd you feel about this episode?
I have extremely mixed feelings with it. I
that
like
was the
how
term that I said too. I literally wrote mixed feelings.
mixed feelings. I don't know. Some of the decisions seemed really out of the blue. The beeline seemed very not convoluted, but pointless and not even that funny. But it progressed the story and the romance a little bit. It seemed weird. It seemed like a fever dream, and like, where the fuck did this come from? Which, in fact, I have that in my notes. What the fuck? So yeah. How about you? Anything else?
I definitely like that. Well, I like the part that the whole point was that he was overthinking. But I can't stand, just in general, I don't like dream sequences. I don't like, oh, it was all a dream all along, or things like that. I really don't like that. But this episode did have a lot of funny moments, a lot of laugh out loud things. Amy's great. Bernadette's great. All that stuff. Like, the girls are usually always great and everything like that. But just the whole idea, like, oh, by the way, it was just a dream.
And, you know, if they had put something in there, and they could have easily, about multiple realities, multiple universes, infinite number of thoughts and processes as he's thinking it out. Like, I'm okay with that, because I made a note that this is kind of like, there's some movies like this, but there's one that I always think of called Sliding Doors. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's Gwyneth Paltrow, and like, before she was like a huge star, early 2000s, you know, she was picking up momentum, and I think it was a British movie. It took place in London, I believe. Had a couple other people in it too. I can't remember who they are though, but mainly she was the main character, and it is a rom-com, but she gets fired one day, and on her way home, she makes a tram or a subway or something, and it's called Sliding Doors because the sliding doors close on her, and either she makes it or she doesn't make it. And depending on if she makes it, she gets home and finds out her boyfriend is cheating on her, or she doesn't and stays in the relationship. And her life splits in two different realities, and how her life could go differently. And then it kind of ties up at the end, and it's still a good ending. And it worked, like, as far as dream sequences go, because this notion of infinite possibilities, that things kind of end up how they're supposed to, for the better, I suppose. And this episode was just kind of random dream sequence, which, like you said, it is about him thinking things out too much. But at the same time, I wish they would have played with that a little bit more, as opposed to it just being a surprise at the end. Although I did like, you know, I don't want to ruin too much, but there's a scene where Amy and Bernadette are on Penny's bed, and then in reality, right at the end, they're flip-flops. So it's almost that same notion that different realities exist, and if you handle them slightly differently, they can come to different fruitions and conclusions. I just wish they had played that up slightly more.
That's one thing I did really like. I liked the dream sequence versus the reality of Bernadette and Amy and how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
Because one is what Leonard, I guess, is assuming is what happened in that conversation, because it's his thought process, and then there's reality. And a shout out to another great great movie that is just like the one that you mentioned, that was basically like branch realities, how like one influence could open up an infinite door of possibilities. Mr. Nobody. Have you ever heard of that one? It's Jared Leto.
I never saw that one. I know what you're talking about. And
it's great. I watched that and I was like blown away by it.
That was
really
on my list for the longest time. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah. I know what you're talking about with Jared Leto. And it has a weird sci-fi like cover, so I've always been interested in it, but I never got to it for some
because
reason.
some of that goes to sci-fi and everything like that, but some are grounded in reality because it's an infinite possibilities.
And I like that. I just don't like the dream sequence where it just seems random or forced for some reason.
Now, I never read this book and I never watched it, but I feel I've heard that that's what happens in the Twilight series. Like that, and that was like a big criticism in one of them.
I never read it, but the last movie, yeah, it was all a dream, and that's fucking bullshit.
I remember like I remember, like I said, I never read it, never watched it, but my friends who did read it and watch it were like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, dream sequence in general are criticized by writers, and I remember there's a Stephen King story. I can't remember what it's called, but it's in his anthology Blood and Smoke, I believe it's called. And it's about this guy who he has a superpower where he sees symbols, and if he puts them down right on paper, he can get people to die or kill themselves. It's like a superpower. And the government finds out about him and basically locks him up in an apartment and says, "We're not going to pay you cash, but write whatever you want down at night and put it under the door, and we will get it for you." And so the notion is cash would let him break away and do whatever he wants, but if they just get him everything, he's basically, his wishes are granted. He just can never leave because he won't have cash. And in it, he has a nightmare about shopping carts and working at a grocery store. And I'm like, does that dream sequence work? It's not necessarily making or breaking. It's definitely not like this gotcha, like, oh, it's all a dream. But at the same time, nothing is really gained or lost from it. It just expresses his anxiety. So I think dream sequences can work. I'm not sure if that one I can't argue for or against. But I'm always questioning if anything's a dream sequence because it's not reality. People don't have the same stakes. And if it's a gotcha type situation, I guess the most infamous one I always hear about is, do you ever watch the show Dallas? I never did.
No, my dad liked Dallas, though.
Apparently there was a character who was killed off, and the show tanked so badly after he died, they went like a season and said the whole season's a dream. He's alive.
That's right. Fuck? I did hear about that. Yeah.
So it's like not only just a pointless dream sequence, but you're tricking the audience needlessly and you're only doing it for ratings. That's not great. So I don't have the answers, but I'm constantly thinking and debating dream sequences. This one just didn't work fully for me.
Yeah. But it did progress the story. It took a while to get there, but it did it. But before we dive into the episode, a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget, everyone, we have an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. We love emails. Also, we love 5-star reviews. So if you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we will give you a shout out. You can also find us on YouTube at Theoretical Nonsense. Hit that like and subscribe. And we have an email. This was mentioned, like I told you, like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, wasn't this a little while ago?
We got the email right after we recorded our last episode.
Oh, that's what it was.
We got an email from Sam. So shout out to Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Sam writes, "Hello, Rob. Hello, Ryan. I'm a huge fan of your show, and all the IQ points and all the deep dives are interesting. I love the Big Bang Theory, and I go to talk to people about it, and they haven't watched it / don't like it. So I appreciate a podcast of people who like it. Me being a nerd myself, I wish I had a group like Raj, Leonard, Howard, and Sheldon to talk comic books with. I am a little behind because I started the podcast late. I'm on episode 306, The Cornhusker Vortex. You guys are awesome, and thank you for the podcast. Sam. Great email, so thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and I know exactly how you feel. In fact, this is a big reason we do this podcast is, I know from my perspective, in my daily life, I don't have the same crowd as Rob to talk nerdy stuff with. So part of the reason we have this is just so we can talk and be nerdy together. So
exactly. Yeah, so if you want to talk to someone about nerd stuff, just email us some more. Well, we love it.
We love talking about it. We need someone to talk about it with.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to be my wife. She's like, what?
I tried with my baby, and she just doesn't care. I don't know.
I know. She just cries.
She just cries and coos at me. Wow, what?
Yeah. Christina's like, ugh, you're still doing this? Ugh.
Which reminds me, she didn't care. I didn't ask you about this. Did you watch the new trailer for the new Spider-Man?
I did, yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited
it's
too.
Storyline where he starts turning into a spider and growing like multiple arms, and I always like the body horror enthusiast in me. I'm like, I want to watch those arms sprout out and go, wow.
Yeah, sadly, I'll probably have to wait until it's on Disney Plus.
I think by the time I have time to watch it, it'll probably be on. Anyways.
I know. I think the only movie that I'm really going to push to like watch in the theater to like make Christina like take care of the kid and let me go see a movie is probably The Mandalorian Grogu. I think that's like the only one I'm so out of the loop, I don't even know.
That's how I really wanted to see Silent Hill 2 or Return to Silent Hill in the theater, because that's one of my favorite games of all time, Silent Hill 2. And February was such a crazy, chaotic month that it was in theaters and out of theaters, and apparently it did horrible. It's really weird. Like, the reviews are either like 1-star or 5-star. People are like, love it, just like the game, or hate it, just like the game. It's really weird reviews, but it was in theaters, out of theaters. I'm like, oh, guess I'm going to stream it. So that didn't happen. Yeah, I didn't get to see it.
Well, Mandalorian Grogu is out May 22nd, so it may end up being like a birthday gift that I can go watch it on my own.
Just be like, I'm going out for some groceries. Come back without groceries. Like, oh, I forgot the groceries.
Oops. I have this extra bucket of popcorn.
Popcorn. You like popcorn, don't you?
All right. Well, any other housekeeping before we dive in?
I think that's all I have.
All right. Let's dive in. This is Season 5, Episode 13, The Recombination Hypothesis. Aired January 19th, 2012. Written by Bill Prady, Stephen Maloro, and Chuck Lorre. Directed by Mark Centrowski.
I always feel like when Chuck Lorre is mentioned one of the top writers, it's like probably going to be a substantial episode. I don't know if that's true, but I always have to wonder that.
Yeah, well, I guess it's his world, so I mean, it's a good assumption.
Right?
Not so much this one, though. Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah.
So, opening scene, we're in the stairwell. Leonard and Sheldon are walking up the stairs, and Leonard wants to discuss dinner plans. Maybe switching it up. Indian, Tex-Mex. And Sheldon completely changes the subjects and asks Leonard if Leonard has ever wondered if humans would be different if they evolved from lizards instead of mammals. And I like Leonard. He just gives up. He's like, okay, let's talk about that. And then Sheldon says, like, as you know, lizards, cold-blooded animals, lack the ability to sense temperature, but they do move more sluggishly when it's cold. So lizard weathermen would say things like, bring a sweater, it's slow outside. I love my mind. And I know I don't give myself Sheldon points, but I feel like I'm kind of like Sheldon in that point where, like, I think of something really weird and I'm just like, I love me.
Go me. Did you do an
My
IQ point
self-esteem's
on
a
lizards
little
by
too high.
chance?
I did not. Did you?
No. I did. I wanted to look this up because I knew a little bit about them being cold-blooded. I was hoping for more substantiation. I got a little bit, but like it was either like really borderline like zoo general public information or like hardcore stuff that I didn't understand. So I feel like I got enough, and I also questioned some of what Sheldon had to say. First of all, I don't feel like he could possibly say, where did I have that? It's not fair for him to say, bring a sweater, it's slow outside. It would be, bring a sweater, you'll be slow outside. And this is part of my English brain thinking about vague words and vague thoughts that saying it's slow, you're talking about the weather. The weather isn't slow. If you're looking at the raindrops, they're not falling slowly, but the weather will make you slow. Therefore, it's bring a sweater, you'll be slow. So anyways, that's kind of what got me started on this. And I just wanted to see what else. I found my information from a mix of sources because most of it seemed like general common knowledge that I wasn't common enough to know. But Zoo Atlanta was a big one, some Reddit, some Quora. First of all, starting off, what does cold-blooded mean? It does not mean their blood is actually cold. It means that they are ectothermic, which means that their bodies don't produce the heat they need to survive. And this is from a couple different reasons. One is they don't regulate their temperature through things like sweating, panting, shivering, or whatever else. So humans, like if we get hot, we sweat, and the moisture evaporating off our skin takes heat with it, dissipates heat, and that cools us down. When we're cold, we shiver, and that causes our muscles to act faster. And I guess, I don't want to say friction, but the movement warms us up. We don't really pant, humans, but I know dogs, I've heard dogs don't sweat. Instead, they get their heat out through their tongue and panting. That's why they pant when they're hot. And instead of that, cold-blooded creatures have to rely on their environments to either cool them down or warm them up. They do have a lower metabolism, which is a big part of this. Basically, their energy level is lower and they burn stuff more slowly. And what I found was that this was because they are more evolved, adapted to going longer stints without food. If they move more slowly, they can last longer periods of times without food, or eating less and not getting as much as, the government sounded 2,000 calories a day. They're not getting that, and they have to survive on less. They also apparently lack brown fat. And I couldn't remember. Do you remember an IQ point on brown fat? I feel like we talked about it long ago.
That sounds familiar, but I am not recalling it.
It's not, I couldn't find it and think about it. So I think it was when they were in Antarctica, the Arctic.
Yes, you're right. It was, do you need more calories when it's colder? From season 2, episode 23.
That's right. And we were talking about a friend who goes hiking in the mountains and mountain climbing and basically sips oil, right? Instead of water to get the...
Well, yeah. Abe specifically didn't do it, but he has heard from people that do it. Shout out to Abe. I know you probably don't listen, but, hey.
We love you anyways, Abe.
Yeah, he said, like, I'm looking at the notes. He packs dates, Asian baos, cheese, salami, and pizza.
That was a while ago, and I'm like, brown fat, that sounds really familiar. How do I know about brown fat?
Yep.
But anyways, brown fat is apparently stores more energy, I guess, for making warmth. Like, it's not necessarily for metabolism and development, I guess. It's for specifically gaining warmth. And reptiles, cold-blooded animals, don't necessarily have that, which means that they can't generate their heat, especially in colder temperatures. So this brings me to what he says, that they lack the ability to sense temperature, which would be just completely wrong. If they couldn't sense temperature, they wouldn't know to go to a warmer spot or a colder spot. And if they need to go to a warmer spot because they're dying, or if they're too hot and they're dying, they need to go to a colder spot, they can sense it. The question is just, to what degree do they sense it? And this is tough. What I found is it's kind of no one really knows because we can't like interview a lizard and say, "Hey, did you feel that sunspot today?" or whatever. They're not going to tell us. They instead, I guess the question is whether or not they become discomforted by hot and cold temperatures. They might sense it and go to a warmer or colder temperature, but they might not be as discomforted in the way that when we shiver, our bodies can actually hurt and we can feel uncomfortable and unhappy. If we get too hot, we can get grumpy, start sweating, and just feel sick. They may not get that way. That's what I understood. I couldn't find anything solid, and in the information I was seeing, and this is where I was really going to Reddit and Quora, where people were kind of speculating because there wasn't any, again, hard research with lizards telling us, I don't like the cold, it hurts my bones, or this weather's really sinking into my bones type responses anyways. So they do sense it, just to what degree we don't know. And it is true, however, that cold-blooded animals do move more sluggishly in the cold. I couldn't find a specific reason for this, so I had to kind of connect the dots, and I found some support for what I was thinking, that when it gets colder, there is less food. And so it makes sense that evolution would slow down their metabolism, saying it's cold, you're going to get less food, slow down even more to burn fewer calories. That way you can live through this cold spell and eat insects when they come back out in the spring, whatever it might be. So that's my understanding, that they do become more sluggish to conserve energy, conserve metabolism, but they do sense temperature to some degree. And that all in all, they rely on their temperatures to warm them up and cool them down because they don't have that brown fat.
Cool. I mean, I knew a little bit about that, but it's nice to get the details.
I think the only thing I knew was they relied on the sun to like warm them up, and that's why they go to stones to warm up, but I didn't really know how it connected with metabolism. Definitely didn't know about the brown fat thing.
I was just talking to somebody. It may have been Christina, but I think there was like a native lizard to Florida, and it's been getting so cold there that like the lizards are actually like getting cold and being like paralyzed. Like they're still alive, but they'll just kind of find lizards like just frozen in
like
quote
hibernation.
Frozen. Kind of, yeah. So like you're supposed to like help them out and everything like that, just kind of move them out of the way or something like that, or like try to warm them up or something like that. So like there are people that are like very into animals. They're basically collecting them and trying to like rewarm them up and everything like that. It's a nice little story.
Interesting. It's weird that Florida's getting that cold. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, like the weather's been nuts. Like I'm not sure if you could actually hear it now, but like we're actually experiencing a thunderstorm right now.
Oh, I can't hear it. Weird.
Okay, good. Yeah, I heard a little bit of lightning earlier, but
I was telling Rob that we got our first snow this year in March. Like it didn't snow like the rest of the year, and our first snow that really, really touched and landed was in March. And we had a couple, and it was actually kind of a blizzard, and some of the schools shut down. I'm like, how many places like in the Seattle area get snow in March? That's not winter.
Maybe I know, that's crazy. Pennsylvania, it's been on and off, like just about like it was last week. We got hit with randomly with like 3 to 4 inches of snow, but then it only lasted 2 days because of like the heat spiked up and it melted everything.
Yeah,
and then we're getting a thunderstorm now, and it's supposed to. Was there a snow icon again? No, snow is over, but hopefully it's done.
And with the snow, like we got hit really hard. And I canceled the hair appointment because we were told that it was going to get even heavier, and it just completely like dissipated. I'm like, why did I cancel my haircut? I could have gone. It was sunny and dry, but man, I was so scared because it was like snow, heavier snow. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else on lizards?
I think that's all I have with the lizards.
All right. Well, now they reach their door, and Sheldon's life-size Mr. Spot cardboard cutout is here. Sheldon is pretty much over the moon. He's like so happy that it's there, but he does comment that Mr. Spock would not appreciate my emotional outburst, but I just can't help it. He's just kind of chattering along while Penny's apartment door is open, and he's kind of peeking inside, looking in, and Penny kind of looks at him, gives him a little bit of smile. So then he walks over to the girls and he addresses Penny. But we catch the end of their conversation, and Amy is discussing monkey poop. She said it, and her conversation ends, which is why the more intelligent the monkey, the more feces they fling. And I did do a research on this.
I did a little bit too, and this is a really cool one. Like, as much as the things I didn't like about this episode, I enjoyed the IQ points thoroughly. I thought they were really cool.
Well,
take it away.
All right. I'll start. I think Amy is onto something. So basically, poop flinging monkeys might be smarter than the other monkeys. I found this on biologyinsights.com and CBS News. There was actually an article about this just earlier than when this episode aired. So I wonder if that's what inspired it. But this behavior has been observed in both wild and captive environments. But it's not a universal behavior for all primates. Instead, it's observed more frequently in certain species, most notably in captive chimpanzees, but also in some baboons and wild howler monkeys. Wild chimpanzees, for example, are known to throw objects like rocks and branches when agitated, but they rarely throw feces in their natural habitats. So now we go into why do they throw their poop. The first motivation is aggression and defense. They throw excrements as a low-risk form of asserting dominance without engaging in direct physical confrontation. The second motivation is a territorial display. They may fling their feces to show displeasure at an intruder entering their space. Other interpretations link this behavior to play and exploration. The act of throwing and observing the response can allow them to understand cause and effect, and even manipulate the behavior of others, especially humans in their captivity, or the humans that they see while they're in captivity. So here is the link to intelligence. Research suggests that a primate's ability to throw an object is actually a solid indicator of intelligence. From a neurological standpoint, throwing an object is actually a very complex activity, as it requires a degree of planning. Throwing objects requires the use of the same section of the brain that processes language. So the more they throw, the more they exercise their brain. Thus, they are, in quote, smarter monkeys. Researchers have also documented the monkeys waiting for newer humans to approach them, and the monkey will taunt them with the feces in their hand before throwing it, indicating that they are trying to manipulate the behaviors of humans around them. So yeah, the more they throw, the smarter they potentially are. Did you have anything else?
I did. Weird. Like, findings are kind of the same, but a little bit different conclusion. I don't even know how to say that. But mine was from an article. Most of my research was from an article called by Bob Yorka. Researchers find poop throwing by chimps is a sign of intelligence. It mostly summarizes a study from Bill Hopkins of Emory University, monitoring brain patterns of monkeys. And what they found, apparently the monkeys who threw a lot of poop were exercising their motor cortex, basically their motor functions, but they were also invoking, or that was correlating with what's called the Broca's area, which is the part of the human brain associated with speech patterns and communication, basically the left hemisphere of the brain. And so it became clear that the throwing of the feces was correlated with communication patterns. And there's a theory, I guess there were some theories on this, that it's a precursor to speech and communication, that if the monkeys can't talk to each other, throwing poop was a way for them to express themselves. It was basically an art form of some sorts, that this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want you to see from me, I guess. The monkeys who were throwing poop also seemed better communicators in their groups too, better interactors and involvement with their groups. So it was, other patterns were being picked up too. And they also picked up that, or the researchers picked up that the throwing did not equate to physical prowess. So there were some people saying that maybe they're throwing stuff because it's their like hunter brain saying that we need to hunt stuff and throw stuff to just for defense or to hunt and track down and kill something. But it was clear that the monkeys who were throwing poop weren't necessarily the strongest or most aggressive. So it's this notion that the throwing was directly correlated to the brain activity in the left hemisphere of communication. So yeah, it became clear that it was a form of self-expression, and self-expression is apparently equating to intelligence here. And I think that's really important because for humans, we see that intelligence, people with stronger interpersonal skills aren't necessarily always more successful, but they are often seen as more intelligent or educated because they're able to deal with stuff and, communicate with others and progress further in life. I can't say that's always the case. It's just maybe a stereotype or assumption that if you can deal with your own shit, you can probably deal with other people's shit too. So maybe that's part of it. I can also say that it gives new meaning for me to, we're just going to throw shit at the wall and see where it sticks. So it's this notion that you're throwing shit, but it's part of interacting, your brainstorming, creative processes, because you are an intelligent human or species.
So it's handling shit literally and figuratively.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's all I had. That study of monitoring that connection to communication, which also I think we think of self-expression as communication as forms of intelligence and getting what we want, but it's also art form that we see artists often are very intelligent because they have to express themselves, not necessarily to communicate, but to show who they are, that I am living, I am here, this is who I was, and whatever it could be. So yeah, some connection there.
Nice. Well, we learned a lot about poop.
Poop.
Well, Leonard goes up to Penny and asks her out on a date officially. And she says yes. And then there's heartbreak across the hallway because Sheldon got the Zachary Quinto version of Spock.
I get 1 point for being like Sheldon here. I would be extremely disappointed by this. And I have a few notes here that 1.513, like a representation of the new Spock when I ordered the old Spock.
It's about expectations.
Man, this sounds bad. I don't like Zachary Quinto.
At all?
I've not liked him in one thing he's done. I guess I've only seen clips of Heroes, and I've heard that he's really good in it, but I can't place.
I would say he's good at that, and it was just bad writing. So I'm not going to blame him for it.
That's fair. I think I mostly think of him from a show called Nosferatu, which is a show based on a Joe Hill novel. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, so he writes horrors too. And it's about this old guy who drives a Rolls Royce and kidnaps children and basically drains their souls so that he can live on and on through magic means. And I did not. Zachary Quinto did a fine job. Just for me, like, it didn't work, and like I have a really hard time expressing why that is. I think one thing about it is that he reminds me so much of Eli Roth. Do you know who that is?
I've heard the name.
Google really quick, just type in Zachary Quinto and Eli Roth and take a look, because as soon as I type them up, other people are saying the same thing, that they're basically like doppelgangers. Eli Roth is mostly horror, right? A horror director. mostly a horror director, and he did the Saw series.
That's how I
And
know that name. Yeah, I was
yeah,
like, that name sounds so familiar.
that series came across so xenophobic to me, like really against like Americans traveling and distrust other cultures. And there were some like fine ideas in it, but like the general principle like kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And he also did a movie called Cabin in the Woods. That might have been his first. And I think directors have to be kind of egotistical, but I remember in the commentary him rubbing me the wrong way. And the movie itself just it pissed me off. I hated it that much. Like I don't know, like visceral reaction that this is just not a good movie, and I paid good money for this. I'm reminded. I just rewatched The Menu, and there's a part of The Menu where the main chef, the head chef, is very critical of an actor, saying, "I took a day off of work to see your movie. I don't get many days off work, and you ruined that day." And like he associates this bad day with. So that was my reaction. Other people may love it, and I wanted to love it because it had, what is his name? Ryder Strong, I think, the guy from Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm gonna love this. And they're in the commentary, they love this idea. Maybe other people did too, but there's a part in Cabin in the Woods where there's this kid who knows karate, and he came in for an audition and did some karate stuff, and they're like, let's rewrite the whole fucking script so that he can do karate in the movie. And there's a scene where he just starts doing karate for no fucking reason other than he can do karate. And I'm like, I don't want to pay $20 to watch some kid do karate because he can do karate. So I had issues with it. I can't, I'm not going to blame anybody else who liked it. There was some cool stuff. Some body horror with shaving that I think is top notch horror. But anyways, Eli Roth, for some reason he rubs me the wrong way. He was in Inglourious Bastards, and I thought he did a terrific job. I think he was a character named the Bear. I think that's who he's called. And he comes out of an alleyway with a baseball bat and just beats the shit out of Nazis. And it's a really cool scene, really heightened. But for some reason, Zachary Quinto and Eli Roth, like I thought they were the same person for a while. I'm like, why is he Spock? And like it all just kind of rubbed together. So, anyways, I probably have different reasons than Sheldon for not liking Zachary Quinto as Spock, but I do agree that I would be very infuriated if I ordered a Spock action figure or cutout and got Zachary Quinto.
Well, like Leonard Nimoy is the classic one. That's kind of what you're expecting and everything. And it's no diss on Zachary Quinto. It's just in this situation, you're not Leonard Nimoy.
And you never will be.
Damn right.
You're right.
All right. Well, now we cut to the credits, and now we're in Penny's room, and the girls are helping Penny pick an outfit. Bernadette is especially excited because if they get back together, she and Howard will have someone to go on double dates with. And then I love Amy. She's like, well, what about me and Sheldon? And Bernadette just quickly, yeah, my lights are flickering. Shit.
Uh-oh. I saw that.
Oh, and then Bernadette just quickly switches the topic. Hey, Penny, how you doing in there?
I love her reaction. It's kind of like, okay. And again, we see this flip-flopped at the end, right?
Yeah, which I do really like.
But it's great that it flip-flops.
Which makes total sense because Amy, it's not that she doesn't care about Bernadette, but that she just kind of puts Penny on such a high pedestal that Bernadette is like just an afterthought in their little group.
Sheldon's an afterthought, right?
Yeah. Well, Penny comes out in a very sexy green dress, which is too much for Bernadette, but perfect for Amy, because Bernadette can't handle Penny's raw sexuality. And the girls ponder why Leonard would even ask her out. And Amy throws out, oh, maybe he's dying. That would be so romantic. So we know where her head's at. Penny is starting to get anxious. She and Leonard just got in a good friendship spot. So them going out could just screw it all up. And if that happens, Bernadette and Howard could always double date with Amy and Sheldon. And I love Bernadette. It's like, okay, let's rework this. We got a lot. We got a lot at stake. And now we cut to the apartment with the guys, and they are playing Settlers of Catan. And just insert a bunch of boner jokes that Sheldon
That's
needs
where
would.
I'm going to say one thing. I get a point for being not like Sheldon because I am the one usually making these stupid jokes. And I admit they're stupid, but I have fun with it. I would make the dumb boner jokes. It's the same thing as that's what she said on The Office. I'd be the one saying it. I enjoy it. But this is one of my faults with the episode is I see this as the B story, and the whole B story is them playing Settlers of Catan, making boner jokes, and I'm like, it's not that funny of a joke to be a whole story. Like, it's a side joke that can be placed in, but it's basically them playing Catan to make boner jokes, and that was weird.
Yeah, I didn't really like it. It's cheap. It didn't really, didn't do anything for me.
I think really quickly it could be a quick haha, that's kind of funny, that's witty, but not for, and they keep going to it.
Yeah, I know. Well, Leonard comes out because he's ready for his date with Penny, and then the guys ask the $1 million question. It's like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, you know what happened last time. Like, what's going on?
It seems so random, and that's where I put the what the fuck in there. Like, there's been no lead up to him asking her out. She has had a couple lookovers and looking at him, but I feel like he's been so preoccupied with Priya that we have had no character development saying, I want to ask her out. I want to try it again. And so I'm with them. What the fuck, guys?
There was that one moment where they tried to go see the movie as just friends, and then he kind of did make that weird comment of like, if that's what you want me to be, I'll do that. I'll do whatever you want, which again was very random.
Yeah.
So you're right. There was no build up to this. It's just kind of like, okay, let's just ask her out.
And if anybody out there thinks there was build up, or are we missing anything? Let us know. Email us, because I feel like that's kind of just too much of a jump that maybe I'm missing something. So
yeah. Well, Sheldon does have an explanation for why he's going to ask her out. He says the reason you're fixated on a good-natured simpleton like Penny is that she's the exact opposite of your first romantic attachment, your brilliant yet intimidating mother, which he got from her book, Needy Baby, Greedy Baby. So I actually did a little bit of research on this.
Oh.
Is our mother our first romantic attachment?
Some Freud shit.
It's very Freudian. Well, I found this on Psychology Today and Medium. So, is our mother our first romantic love? And do we try to go in the opposite direction? Or do we dive into that direction? So where do we stand in Leonard's case? So the answer is kind of. So insinuating this relationship is, in quote, romantic in the traditional sense is a bit of a misnomer. So let's get our heads out of the gutter so it's not that gross. There's actually a more logical explanation. So there are resemblances of infant love for the primary caregiver, or your mother, to adult romantic love. So as a child, our emotional and physical welfare is dependent on the quality of care provided by our mother. Lovers also look to one another for emotional well-being and physical gratification. Both relationships are enmeshed. An infant or a child only has a vague sense of its own identity outside of their mother. Similar with adult relationships, emotional identities end up fusing together. When one is happy, the other is happy. If one is unhappy, especially with them, then they feel unhappy. Our earliest experiences of love are prototypical. ones that strongly influence how we define and recognize our current experiences of love. This includes how we expect to be loved, how we express love to others, especially those closest to us. We want to repeat our good experiences of love and avoid the bad ones. Our love with our mothers creates the blueprint of what we think love should be and what we want them to be, since we're trying to recreate that same love from others. So, this is all part of something called imprinting theory. We have been psychologically and socially conditioned to look for a mate that's similar to our parents. So knowing this, it makes sense that Leonard's mother would highly influence his choice in a romantic partner. So then the question is, well, if that's the case, if imprinting theory is correct, shouldn't he be seeking someone more like his mother then? Wouldn't he be craving that similar type of approval from someone else? But a study conducted by eHarmony showed that 64% of men go for women with the same personality traits as their mother. So that's a large percentage of people going in the opposite direction. It would appear that Leonard wants someone exactly the opposite of his mother for the same reason that people usually go for someone similar to their mother. Observing our parents teaches us how to navigate life, what's safe, what's dangerous, what to strive towards, and what to avoid. And Beverly has definitely taught Leonard what to avoid in relationships. Somebody like her. Leonard's mom is cold and analytical, and Penny is warm and free-spirited. Beverly is emotionally distant and lacks empathy, and Penny can be distant, which she has shown, but she's definitely more open than Beverly. And she actually shows empathy. So Leonard did use his first romantic love, meaning his mom, to create the blueprint of what he wants in a partner. The past was just not as traditional as everybody else's. So yes, what Sheldon was saying is kind of true.
I have to think that I've never had somebody say that I date people like or not like my mother, but I've had several people who say you date people a lot like your sister. So I don't know, like the hard-headedness and assertion apparently that my mom doesn't have that my sister got from my mom and dad, I guess. I don't know where that fits into it, but that's
well, I think how much older was your sister? Like just
4 years.
4 years. So that is old enough where she kind of, in a sense, could be a maternal figure to you, because
at least some of the imprinting, right?
Yeah, because she was just old enough to kind of take care of you.
Yeah.
And you're still close enough where it's like, well, you like each other, you hang out with each other. So in a sense, she imprinted what love is supposed to be.
Good or bad, it happened. Like, this is what life is.
Yeah. And like what the research says is like, we are trying to recreate these moments of love. And our first experiences of love are from our siblings and from our parents.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you ever been told you date somebody like your mom or not like your mom?
No one's ever said that,
Really?
but Christina has some minor similarities to my mom, but she's definitely not 100% like her. They share the I make her coffee in the morning trait.
That counts.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to make my mom coffee in the morning, and here I am again. I can't escape it. I guess I'm just that good at being a barista.
I need you to come over and make me some coffee, Rob. I'll imprint some love on you. Give me some coffee.
Yeah, imprint all over me. Well, all right. Now we're at the restaurant. Penny and Leonard are on their date, and boy, is it awkward. So they pretend like it's a real first date, and Leonard is shockingly charming. And we also get a little bit more info on what Leonard has been up to at work. He's like, oh, I'm an experimental physicist at Caltech, and he is working with high-powered lasers. And he just got a big government grant to see if they could be used to knock out incoming ballistic missiles. And he's just like, oh my god, can they? And I love his response. He's like, God, no. But the money is good. It's funny that he already knows the answer, but he's just writing it out. If I tell him no already, then it's like I'm out of a job.
I'll take the money. I looked into this. Did you?
No. I mean, he just said that it couldn't be done, and yeah, I kind of just went with that. But
my understanding is that it can be done. It's just really impractical, especially with the technology we have. And I found, I started digging into this, and there was so much more to the article, so I don't want to shortchange it, but I'm going to, because that's what I do. Nationalinterest.org, there's an article by Alex Hollings, and I thought it was really cool. But basically the premise was lasers might be able to do it, but not right now. There's insufficient power output, limited range, especially due to atmospheric conditions. Not to mention, there is difficulty tracking fast-moving objects. So it said that right now the best form of anti-missile technology is kinetic missiles. And the way these work is, I mean, we get missiles that are cruising at like Mach 5. So it's really hard to figure out where they're going to be, when they're going to be. But if they're getting to lower altitudes and we can figure out where they're going to be, we shoot a missile that just like hits them. And again, a kinetic missile, I think we've talked about this before, is a missile that doesn't have a warhead on it, explosive warhead. It just, impact itself is enough to cause an explosion. And so it hits the missile, and all it has to do is hit the missile, and the missile detonates, and it doesn't get to its target. Problem with lasers is the laser has to hit and then like penetrate and stay on it long enough to hit it. Like, it takes a little bit of charging up time, and depending on how powerful the laser, that's a different amount of time. And part of this article talks about the difference between chemical and solid state lasers. And apparently chemical lasers were stronger, and they're really popular in the 1980s. And if we had more chemical lasers, they might be able to do it, but they take a lot of space, they take a lot of energy, and they take a lot of like hauling around dangerous amounts of chemicals, because they take like chemicals, liquid chemicals to create the lasers. That is just like impractical. So after the 1980s, people started switching to solid state lasers that use crystalline materials to produce lasers. And these laser creators are smaller and safer, and you're not hauling around like basically toxins with you that if they break open, you die. That was my understanding. So smaller and safer, but they don't have the power, and they aren't necessarily the size that are needed to precisely predict where missiles are going to be and hit them for long enough to detonate the missile. Hit the fuselage, I guess. Apparently, they are getting stronger, though. And this article talks about how the U.S. Navy and military, the Army, are actually employing some lasers in close-range combat. And I didn't read enough about and understand enough about how they're using them, but it got into the specifics of the powers and, voltages, kilowatts, I guess, of the lasers and how they're being used. But apparently, to get a laser strong enough to actually deactivate or counter a missile, we would need something like probably about 3 times as strong as we have today. So it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more focus, a lot more money to make such a thing. But what did I have?
So basically, we need to start hunting for some kyber crystals.
Exactly.
To make our own little Death Stars.
We need Death Stars. That was something that it said that lasers, like, even if we are able to hit the missile, it takes like just long enough that the missile, if it was intelligent enough, could roll. And if it rolls, it would keep the laser from actually penetrating it or causing damage. And so it could move out of the way. And it's easier to make missiles that move out of the way of lasers than lasers that predict where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And so it's kind of an intelligence thing, not necessarily just a strength thing, but are we able to predict where it's going to be, when it's going to be, and what it's going to do for long enough to destroy the missile? And we have to think about shit like clouds and mists and fog. If there are conditions that will diffuse the laser, that's going to deactivate the laser enough to not penetrate the missile. It's just not, what's the word? Predictable enough, reliable enough to rely our whole defense on. It's not there yet, not strong enough. What else? One other thing. Yeah, the article did sum up saying that it probably can happen, will happen. Right now, it's not going to happen. And I think that was important too about the lasers or the atmospheric conditions that we see in sci-fi movies all the times, where Death Stars are using lasers, spaceships are using lasers in outer space, where the atmospheric conditions are very, very negligible compared to Earth. We have less to worry about. But as soon as you bring, like, I guess you can't bring a Death Star down to Earth, but an X-Wing or wiring down to Earth and use the lasers, they're not going to be as practical as in outer space. So that might be part of the difference with sci-fi movies, is they are in space where there's no atmosphere. Things are more reliable. On Earth, we don't know what the weather is going to be. You're having a storm right now. We're having snow in March. Who knows what's going to happen? So yes, he's right. Oh God, no, it's not going to work. But in theory, it could work if we blow the nation's funding for military defense onto lasers for the next 30 years. And still, it probably would have so many possibilities, so many variables, that it wouldn't be super reliable anyways.
All right, anything else on lasers?
Laser beams.
The laser.
That's all I got on lasers. I love lasers, so I'm always curious and couldn't help myself but look into it a little bit more.
Okay, all right. Well, now Leonard blows it. He rushes in and asks if they're just going to get back together. Then classic Leonard overthinks, and he uses the word always. That always makes it so much worse, and he just can't let things go. And the rest of the day just turns into a disaster because they just can't talk to each other. That's just where it all goes wrong.
I stand with her, that her saying, I'll always have feelings for you, that implies negative connotations, that things like it will always be there because I'm planning for the worst. And even if it's said with positive things, it is planning for the worst. So I agree with Leonard saying that you didn't need to throw that in there. I think it's weird that he asked her out. I think it's weird that if they're planning this as a first date, that he's like, are we going to get back together? Like, that seemed really rushed. But that her response was questionable too.
Because after 2 years, it's basically starting all over. You can't, I mean, to a degree, you aren't really on a first date, but you can't just get back to where you were.
Yeah.
It is restarting the building blocks, and I feel like Leonard just wants to just dive back into where they were.
Yeah.
But we learn he's overthinking. So I guess whatever.
Whatever. Maybe he'll make the right choice in the next thought process.
Yeah. He probably won't. It's Leonard.
He probably won't. They never do. Who does?
Well, now we're back at the apartment, and we get some more boner jokes. And then Leonard enters, and he doesn't have much to say to get that he doesn't have to say much for everyone to understand the date went terrible. He goes into his room and yells, and I do like Sheldon's like, no, there's still not enough evidence. For all we know, he's being murdered. Now let's play our game. It's like, what if he is getting murdered?
And they don't get up. They're just like, he could be.
And playing our game. I need more wood. Well, now we're in Leonard's room. It's nighttime. He's trying to get some sleep, and he gets a text from Penny. He meets with her in the hallway, and she tells him to not overthink this. And they start kissing. And then she takes him into her place, and they're a little hanky-panky. And then it flashes forward, and they're talking, and they actually have a really nice talk. She gets real with him and says it was going too fast. It started to feel too real, and she panicked. She's afraid of doing something stupid again, like dumping him. And then I like that she's like, "What if I dump you?" It's like, "No, dude, be serious. Come
I
on,
did
that would
like
never
that.
happen."
Be serious.
So then they agree to stay low key and not tell anyone. And this is really nice. She has an old inhaler for, for him. And I did a little bit of research on this just because it's a really short one, because I was just like, what, 2 years? I wonder if that's still good.
I was wondering that, and I didn't do anything but him also to say, what was it, in 20 to 30 minutes, I'll let you know how I feel. And I've used inhalers before, and the reaction is pretty immediate for me. So I think that might just be a subjective or a personal experience, but
or it's just very, very good writing, because inhalers usually only last 1 year. But it's not dangerous to use. It won't kill you. It's just that the potency is actually just reduced. So it's kind of like medication, where it's like, it takes a long time for it to turn toxic. It just, the efficacy just lowers the older it is. So the same thing with an inhaler. So 20 to 30 minutes, he knows the efficacy is lowered. So he knows it's going to take 20 to 30 minutes. So this could just be very good writing. But that's all I had.
That could be. I take medicine that's expired all the time. Like, I have ibuprofen. I don't give a fuck what it's from. I'm not going to waste it. Waste not, want not. It might be poison. Who knows? But I'm reminded of, I always think of that Scrubs episode where Cox says it's children's Tylenol. You take a handful and throw at them, and however much gets in the mouth is the right amount. I'm like, if I'm taking too much that's hurting me, I'm probably taking, like, it's probably obvious I'm taking, something else is wrong there.
We haven't gotten this far yet in the series, but I'm going to be like a Sheldon. I am like a Sheldon. Basically, I am very confined by the expiration date. So I will just, if it's expired, probably by like at least like a month, I just discard and buy a new one, which we'll see Sheldon in the future go through like that.
I'm that way with food, like hardcore with food, but medication for some reason I'm just like, fuck it.
I'm just like, you know what? It says it's expired. It's not that expensive. I'll just buy a fresh one.
I don't see botulism growing on it. I'm taking it.
Living on the edge, are we?
It's every day's exciting.
Well, now we're back at the apartment, and Leonard is sneaking back in, and Sheldon catches him. And he makes up a story that he went to the gas station to use the bathroom, the gas station across the street. And Sheldon believes this because, as he's questioning him, he gets to the inhaler question. He's like, okay, you have your inhaler. It's plausible that you did go out there on a cold winter's eve. But then Sheldon forces him to buy some beef jerky as payment for using the gas station facilities. And then he goes,
that's customary? I was going to see, do you think, do you feel obligated to buy something if you use a gas station bathroom, or?
I think if there's... No, actually, I was going to say yes, but nah, the answer, honestly, historically, I have not, because like Starbucks, I go in there and ask for a key all the time to like use the bathroom, and I don't always buy something. Sometimes I will, but sometimes I don't.
Mom raised me to say, fuck it, if there's a bathroom, you use the bathroom. At least you're making it to a bathroom. And my dad, on the other hand, was like, I remember him saying, we need to buy a cheeseburger at this McDonald's because you had to pee, Ryan. And so completely different mindsets. And I'm like, I think I've grown into the bathroom's there because I am more inclined to go in there and buy a cheeseburger at a later time, feeling like they treated me good. But I'm not inclined to buy something just because I use the bathroom.
Yes. If anything, it'll build your relationship with that business a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. But growing up from a dad who was hardcore Sheldon right here, I'm like, I see what Sheldon's point is. Like, I'm gonna
Okay,
buy
yeah.
$1 hamburger.
Ooh. A
Oh, I
gas
don't
station.
want.
A
I
gas
came in because
station
I had to throw
too,
up. Well, then eat the hamburger and then throw up again
and then diarrhea.
in the diarrhea.
I will say, shout out to the convenience stores of Pennsylvania. They actually do it really well. Not like Washington. Well, I think we've talked about this before, but like Washington, like the 7-Eleven, the Arcos, and like stuff like that. The Chevrons. You don't get the food there. Don't skip the hot dogs, skip all that stuff. But like, they really put money into the convenience stores here. Not like Japan. It's not like Japan level or anything like that. But it's definitely like you walk into a gas station and you're just like, this is a gas station. This is beautiful on the inside.
It's like Sheetz in the east and Bucky's in the south are two gas stations I am okay eating at.
Now we cut to the Cheesecake Factory. Everyone is out to dinner, and Leonard is finding a new parking space since Sheldon didn't like the bumper sticker on the neighboring car, which the bumper sticker says, "Ask me about my grandchildren." He's worried that he might actually have to have that conversation. When Leonard arrives, Howard makes a comment that he's surprised to see him out to dinner with them after it went so badly with Penny. And he tries to play it off that he's a grown-up and they're just trying to move past this. And we get a little bit more insight on Bernadette. Love this. But then again, we don't know if it's true now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm guessing it probably is true because this is all part of the dream sequence. But Bernadette says she couldn't be friends with Howard if they ever broke up because she's a very vengeful person with access to weaponized smallpox. I'm going to say that it's true.
It made me laugh, and I feel like that's definitely in her character, so it's true enough. Like, I think if not smallpox, some other horrible bacteria or virus that could hurt people.
Yeah. Well, Howard is kind of a dick in this scene because Penny comes back and then he makes a comment of their bad date that Leonard knows what he wants, but he's not getting it from you. It's like, Howard just being a little classless, which, yeah, that's kind of on track. Leonard says that they'll always have feelings for each other, and Bernadette gets it. She clocks it, and he tries to make a point like, hey, she knows what it meant, so it is a thing.
She gets it.
Rubs Penny the wrong way, of course, because Leonard just doesn't know how to shut up. And again, all this is actually very on track with their characters, so I think Leonard knows his friends very well. Sheldon continues to try to order the food through the fight, but then Penny says it's her break and she's going to get another server. And Sheldon, being selfish as always, he says, "Promise me that when our new waitress comes over, you will not start a complicated on again, off again relationship with her because I'm very hungry." And now we cut back to Leonard's room and he's trying to get some sleep and he gets another text from Penny because she wants an explanation of why he was such a jerk at the restaurant. And that was his way of playing it cool and pretending that they weren't seeing each other. But that wasn't the plan. They were supposed to act like friends, which is hard when he's being a tool bag. Then he gets heated and goes to their apartment because sex after a fight is apparently their thing. But he did jump the gun because they're not technically done fighting. I did clock that. It's like, fight's not over, dude. you just want to do it.
My favorite line was her saying, "Yeah, kind of," and walking after him, but they aren't. Yeah. They're still fighting, but I did think that was funny nonetheless.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So now, afterwards, they both get the reality check that every scenario leads to disaster. And she says, "It's because you overthink." And then we snap back to reality. And yep, he was just thinking about this the whole time. And like we said, we hate that. Not a fan. But Sheldon really did get Zachary Quinto as Spock. But you know what? He'll give him a chance since he was badass in Heroes. Meh. But psych. I don't know. Like, Heroes sucked. See, we've talked about this before. Season 1 is pure magic. Everything else is horrible. And then they brought it back like years later, and that it got canceled because it was fucking terrible. It's like, how are you so bad at writing this? Like,
it's such a good concept. How did you mess it up?
It really is. Oh. But anyways, Sheldon is sending him back anyways. And good choice. You love Nemo. You love Nimoy. Don't settle. So then Leonard goes over to Penny and asks her out for realsies. And then,
as we can assume, this might be another dream. Who knows?
But Penny asks, have you thought this through? And that's the joke, was that he spent all of his time thinking about this. And he's like, yep, and I think we should go anyways. So, yeah, he's into her. He really wants this. No matter what, he wants to go for it. So now we're in Penny's apartment, and the girls are helping her find something to wear, just like what the dream scenario was. And like we said, it showed the reality of it, and we really like this, that it's actually Amy that's not super into like going on the double date with Bernadette and Howard. Which is so like true, because she's like, ugh, she's so insecure. And then Penny is distracted with the whole thing because she's having a daydream that she's actually marrying Leonard because he knocks her up.
I do like the flip-flop too, because it shows that no matter how much Leonard tries to think it out, he's not going to think out every detail or get everything right, which shows that things could work out. He's not able to think out a scenario where it works, but that doesn't mean there isn't one, because he's not going to get everything right. And these little butterfly effects will impact things. So it is possible, even though it seems unlikely. But yeah.
Yep. And that's the end of the episode. Oh, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but this is actually the 100th episode of Big Bang Theory. Yep. They hit 100 episodes. We didn't clock it earlier because we were off on a different schedule, because we had like our recap, like our season full recaps and everything like that. So we were at 100 like a little while ago, but this is the 100th episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that, because it's kind of an episode that's not just filler. It's something that's progressing the main relationship, and we're seeing where it's going. So solid.
And the vanity card explains it all. 100 episodes. Chuck Lorre Productions number 374. 100 episodes. Babies were born. People got married. People got divorced. People died. People were hired, fired, quit. Homes were bought. Expensive cars were leased. Tears were shed. Harsh words were spoken. Fear, dread, resentment, jealousy, frustration, and rage came and went like clouds in the sky. The only constant was laughter. We laughed a lot. We hope you did too. From everyone at Big Bang Theory, thank you for watching. Oh, I almost forgot. Bill Prady went on a food delivery system, lost 20 pounds, and started tucking in his shirt. You know, good for you, Bill.
Good job, Bill.
All right, let's count some points.
I want to say, for all my students who are using those lists of threes that are a sign of AI, you should take a look at this and how lists are used. I don't think there's one list of three, and the whole thing is just lists. So anyways, I've been talking to Rob about how lists of threes are a big sign of AI, and they're just annoying the shit out of me in papers. So yeah, I'm gonna have some lessons about lists and how to use them appropriately in future classes. Not saying this is a masterpiece of a vanity card, but at least it worked. It wasn't AI.
Yeah. Or he's so far into the future, he did use AI, and we had no idea.
This show is AI. We just didn't know it.
Every episode is written by AI. Well, anything else to talk about?
I'm gonna add up these points. Something just weird happened. As I was highlighting, some de-highlighted. I'm at 142 for being like somebody other than Sheldon, and 144 being like Sheldon. So I went 1 point up on each side this round. So still Sheldon's in the lead, but not by a whole lot.
All right, you're still a Shell. You're still our Shelly.
I'm a Shally for the time being.
Yeah, for now. Who knows? We had 5 IQ points. Yeah, I had 2. You had 3. All right. Well, thanks everybody again for listening. Email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we will give you a shout out. And we will see you next time when we discuss season 5, episode 14, the beta test initiation. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening. We learned a lot about poop.